Maka Wilson was 28, living in a modest Chicago apartment, working as an accountant with a life that looked stable on the outside. But inside, she was drowning, not in her own mistakes, but in her family's. The Wilsons were the picture of suburban charm. Sunday barbecues, matching holiday sweaters, a framed photo of smiling faces on their mantel. To the world, they were close-knit. To Maka, they were a machine, and she was the battery keeping it running. Her father, Greg, owned a failing construction company, always one contract away from making it big. Her mother, Diane, had a knack for guilt-tripping with a soft voice and trembling hands. And her older sister, Kaylee, was the golden child. Charming, reckless, and always needing a bailout. Maka, she was the fixer. The one who paid the bills, signed the loans, and cleaned up the messes. Asterisk visuals, flashback to Maka at 24, nervously signing papers in a bank, her father's reassuring hand on her shoulder. At 24, Maka co-signed her first loan for her dad's business. "It's just paperwork," Greg said, his voice warm, convincing. "You won't even notice." She believed him. Then came another loan for a truck, then a line of credit for home repairs. Temporary, they called it. But temporary became a chain. Over 5 years, Maka's name was tied to over $150,000 in debt. None of it hers. Every family group chat was a new invoice. "Maka, the mortgage is late again." "Maka, Kaylee needs help with her car payment." The messages always ended with hearts, crying emojis, or "You're our lifesaver." But when she hesitated, the tone shifted. "After all we've done for you." Maka wasn't just their safety net. She was their ATM. Her apartment was sparse. No vacations, no new clothes, because every spare dollar went to her family's emergencies. She'd lie awake at night, heart racing, wondering how she'd cover the next payment. Her boyfriend, Ethan, saw it clearly. "You don't owe love to people who treat it like a loan," he told her once. She brushed it off, but his words lingered. Maka wanted to believe family meant safety, loyalty, love. Instead, it felt like a contract she never agreed to. She'd stare at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, tired eyes, clenched jaw, and wonder when she'd become the family's unpaid employee. Asterisk, sound effect. A faint, echoing heartbeat under the narration. 2 days before that fateful text, Maka's world tilted. A notification from her credit monitoring app, a new inquiry for an $80,000 business loan under her name. She hadn't applied for anything in over a year. Her stomach churned, cold and heavy, like swallowing ice. That night, she drove to her parents' house in the suburbs, the Chicago skyline fading in her rear view. The porch light glowed. Always on for Kaylee, never for her. Diane opened the door, her smile practiced, soft. "You should have called, sweetheart." Inside, Greg sat in his recliner, the TV casting shadows across his glasses. Kaylee lounged on the couch, scrolling her phone, barely glancing up. Asterisk visuals. Maka holding up her phone, her voice steady but sharp. Maka didn't sit. She held up her phone. "An $80,000 loan. In my name. Explain." Diane blinked, feigning confusion. "Oh, honey, it's just for the business." Greg's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone. This family needed you. You're good with money. You can handle it." Maka's voice cracked. "Handle your mess, you mean?" Kaylee smirked, finally looking up. "You're being dramatic, Maka. We're not strangers. We're blood." Maka's fists clenched. "No, Kaylee, you share debt." The room went silent, save for the TV's hum. Diane pressed a hand to her chest. "You're twisting this. We've sacrificed everything for you." Maka laughed, sharp and tired. "No, Mom, you've spent everything. I just paid the bills." Greg stood, his voice rising. "Don't come here blaming us for your selfish choices. You think living with that boyfriend makes you better than us?" Something in Maka snapped. Not loud, not messy, but clean, like a wire stretched too thin. I'm done, she said, her voice low, final. Kaylee scoffed. Done with what? Carrying us? Maka looked at them, her father's clenched fists, her mother's crocodile tears, her sister's smug grin. All of you. She turned for the door. Greg muttered, ungrateful. The word hit like a slap, the same way it always had, sealing a contract she'd never signed. Maka walked into the rain, her blazer soaked, her pulse steady. For the first time, she felt the weight of her own power. The next day, during her lunch break, the text arrived. Greg's name on the screen. His words cold and final. We're cutting all ties. Don't come around ever again. 5 minutes later, Kaylee reacted with a heart emoji. Not a word, just a heart. Like she was liking a photo of a puppy, not disowning her sister. Maka stared at the screen. The fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the taste of burnt office coffee on her tongue. No anger, just clarity. Her fingers moved, deliberate, typing one line. I'll pull my name from all loans tomorrow. She locked her phone, leaned back, and listened to the vending machine hum. By midnight, the family group chat was chaos. Caps lock accusations, guilt trips, voice messages dripping with panic. Maka didn't answer. She closed her laptop, exhaled, and thought, they think they've punished me. They just set me free. Asterisk sound effect. A faint, triumphant music swell. By morning, Maka's phone was a war zone. Missed calls. Texts in all caps. Voicemails from every family member. Diane, you're tearing this family apart. Greg, you'll regret this. Kaylee, hope Ethan knows he's next on your list. Maka didn't open a single one. Instead, she brewed coffee, sat at her kitchen table, and opened her laptop. The screen's glow felt like a shield. She typed an email to her bank. I'd like to begin the process of removing myself as co-signer on all active family accounts. Then another to the insurance company. Another to the credit bureau. Her fingers moved with mechanical precision, each click a reclaiming, each form a quiet act of defiance. The printer hummed behind her, spitting out loan contracts, statements, credit histories. Maka highlighted her signature lines in yellow, organized them into folders. The air smelled like hot paper and ink, like something being purified. Asterisk visuals. Close-up of Maka's hands sorting papers, her face calm but determined. At work, her co-worker Nora peeked over the cubicle. Rough day? Maka smiled thinly. Just fixing some paperwork. Nora tilted her head. You look calmer than I've ever seen you. Maka nodded. I think I finally stopped drowning. 3 days later, they stopped pretending to be victims. It was Saturday morning, the air damp from fresh rain. Maka was on her balcony, coffee in hand, when the buzzer sounded. 2 sharp rings. She checked the camera feed and froze. Kaylee stood at the gate, her designer jacket wrinkled like cheap armor. Behind her, Greg's jaw was locked, a vein pulsing in his temple. Diane clutched a folder, her eyes wide with practiced distress. Maka opened the door halfway. You shouldn't be here. Kaylee smiled, all charm. We just want to talk, Maka. Don't be dramatic. Maka's voice was ice. Dramatic? You forged my name on an $80,000 loan. Greg snapped. Watch your mouth. You're still our daughter. Maka met his gaze. Funny. You didn't sound so sure when you texted me to never come back. Asterisk visuals. Ethan stepping beside Maka, his presence steady. Diane stepped forward, voice trembling. Honey, your father was angry. Families fight. But this, she held up the folder. This isn't how we fix things. Ethan spoke, calm but firm. You need to leave. Greg ignored him, eyes on Maka. You think cutting ties makes you strong? You're destroying us. The business is collapsing. We can't refinance without you. Maka's chest tightened, not from guilt, but from déjà vu. She'd heard these lines before, word for word. Then maybe, she said, you should have learned to stand without my credit. Kaylee's facade cracked. You think you're better than us? Because you have a job? Because you date someone with money? Ethan's voice stayed even. You're crossing a line. Maka turned to Kaylee, unflinching. You don't get to lecture me about lines. You crossed everyone when you used me to keep your life afloat. Maka and Ethan closed the door. The click louder than any slam. Outside, someone pounded once, then silence. Maka didn't sleep that night, but not from fear, from focus. The next day, she met with a loan officer in a quiet downtown bank. The air conditioning whispered as she slid a folder across his desk. I'd like to remove myself from every loan under the Wilson family business and personal accounts. The officer skimmed the papers, brows lifting. That's quite a list. Maka's voice was steady. I know, it may take a few days. He studied her. You sure about this? Families can ruin you too. Maka smiled faintly. They already tried. The stamp hit the papers, a sound like a gavel. For a second, Maka closed her eyes and listened. It wasn't loss. It was freedom. Asterisk, sound effect. A triumphant orchestral swell. That night, Maka drove home through steady rain, the windshield wipers keeping rhythm with her pulse. Her phone buzzed. Diane, Greg, Kaylee. She turned it face down and let it ring. The texts kept coming, but they weren't commands anymore. They were panic. You're ruining us. How could you do this to your family? Maka pulled into her parking lot. The city lights like broken glass on the pavement. She sat there, engine ticking, thinking of every time she'd said yes when she wanted to say no. Inside, her apartment smelled of coffee and wet asphalt. She poured a glass of water. The folders stacked neatly on her counter. The smallest flicker of peace warmed her chest. The next afternoon, Maka's co-worker Nora messaged her. Someone's in the lobby for you. Maka stepped out of the elevator, heart hammering. Diane stood there, clutching the folder, her hands trembling. Honey, please sit with me. Maka's voice was flat. I'm at work. Diane opened the folder, copies of Maka's loan documents. We spoke to a lawyer. He says you might still be liable, but if you cooperate, we can fix it. Maka stared, the world tilting. You went through my personal files? Diane hesitated. We kept copies when you lived at home, just in case. Maka's laugh was sharp. That's not just invasive, it's illegal. Diane's face hardened. Don't be dramatic, Maka. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Maka stood. No, Mom. You mean harder than you need it to be? She walked away, hands shaking but her resolve ironclad. That night, Maka locked every door her family had a key to. She changed every password. Bank, email, credit. Every digital lock clicked shut. The following week, silence fell. No calls, no texts. Even the group chat died. It felt too quiet, like the pause before a storm. Then a storm arrived. An email from Miller Hastings' legal group, subject: Notice of potential financial obligation. Vague threats, no specifics, just enough to scare. Maka smiled. Her attorney had already confirmed her release from all obligations. They had nothing. She replied with one line: There will be no further contact. Send. Asterisk visuals. Maka raising a glass of cheap wine with Ethan, the city skyline glittering outside. That night, Maka and Ethan toasted with cheap wine. To the end of chaos, he said. To the beginning of peace, she answered. For the first time, she believed it. But peace doesn't come quietly. A week later, the fallout began. A cousin messaged Maka on social media. Your mom's worried about you, says you're struggling. Then a woman from their old church texted, Saw your dad at the store? He said you're unstable. Everyone's praying for you. Maka laughed, a real laugh. The same people who'd called her ungrateful were now painting her as broken. She blocked them all. That night, lying beside Ethan, she realized they couldn't hurt her financially anymore. So they were rewriting the narrative. But it didn't work. The people who mattered, Ethan, Nora, her attorney, knew the truth. Weeks later, Maka heard through a mutual contact, her Aunt Lorraine, that the Wilsons' house was listed for sale, pre-foreclosure. Lorraine sent a link, like it was gossip, not ruin. Maka clicked. Photos showed empty rooms, peeling wallpaper, a tilted for sale sign in the yard. She waited for guilt. It didn't come. Instead, she felt a quiet mourning for the version of herself who thought love meant saving people who refused to swim. Ethan found her staring at the screen. "They're losing the house," she said. He closed the laptop. "It's not your job to save what they built on your back." Maka looked at him. That house was everything to them. Ethan's voice was soft. "And nothing to you." A few days later, an email arrived from Diane. Subject: "Please read." The tone was almost tender. She wrote that Greg's health was failing, that they just needed a little help to get back on their feet. "You're all we have left," she ended. For a moment, Maka's old reflex kicked in, the urge to fix, to save. But she stopped. Instead, she opened a new tab and donated the amount Diane asked for to a nonprofit helping women escape financial abuse. Then she deleted the email. When she told Ethan, he smiled. "You didn't destroy them, you just stopped saving them." Maka nodded, breathing in the quiet. Spring settled in, soft and slow, the way peace does when it stops asking permission. Maka and Ethan moved into a new apartment. The windows open most days, the smell of coffee and rain mixing with the hum of Chicago traffic. Maka's paycheck stretched the whole month. No family emergencies, no late-night texts. It felt foreign, almost guilty, to have money that was hers alone. Sometimes, she'd catch herself listening for her phone, expecting the old chime of crisis. It never came. That silence, the one that used to scare her, was now proof she'd broken the pattern. Asterisk visuals. Maka answering work emails on her balcony, sunlight on her hands. One night, as the city lights blinked like soft stars, Ethan asked, "Do you ever miss them?" Maka thought for a long moment. "I miss who I tried to be for them, but I don't miss them." He smiled. "Then you're free." Maka looked out at the skyline and whispered to herself, "Sometimes peace costs everything you thought was love, but it's worth it." Maka Wilson wasn't just a daughter, a sister, or a human credit card. She was a woman who reclaimed her life, one signature at a time. Her family thought they could break her, but all they did was set her free. If you've ever had to walk away from the people who kept you small just to feel whole again, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story hit home, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss the next tale of revenge, redemption, and reclaiming what's yours. Until next time, remember, sometimes the quietest revenge is simply living well. Asterisk, text on screen. Subscribe for more stories. Share your story below.